this is Chuck Lemire from Bob Corcoran and Associates, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague Bob Corcoran, and we're here with another Corcoran tip of the week. How you doing today, Bob?
Chuck, I'm doing great. And when you say my friend and my colleague, I need you to know how deep that goes with me. You're a trusted advisor for me. You're a mentor to me. Your resume is a who's who in real estate, and I'm so honored to be in business with you, Chuck. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
thank you. I greatly appreciate that. So,
hmm
today's tip of the week, Bob, it's the age-old question. I've heard this for decades. The right CRM, a scalable system for long-term success, Bob. You know, we're going to talk about CRMs. So,
Yeah. So I remember years ago, Chuck, asking you, Chuck, what's the perfect CRM? And Chuck Lemire gave by far the most brilliant answer.
the best
The
CRM, Bob, is the one you use.
there you go. Now, let's define what a CRM is. In my world, a CRM, folks, you're never going to have a one CRM that's going to do everything you want. That product's not available. You have CRMs like Top Producer that does transaction management, contact management. It helps you stay in touch with past clients. That's a CRM. Okay. Then you have products like Boomtown, Fellow, Homebot. They cast themselves out there as CRMs, but they're different tools. So you need a CRM that can do your contact management, past client follow up, and transaction management. Folks, you also need another CRM that can do your lead follow up, like a Boomtown, like a Fellow, like a Homebot. There's still CRMs, but you're never going to find one product do it all. So, in my opinion, you need a contact management system like a Top Producer that can do the transaction management, which automates it. And folks, Chuck, over the years, I see so many people that do transaction management manually. By switching to a product like that, like a Top Producer or other products out there that do transaction management, it cuts the work down at least 80%. Think of the savings, 80% savings in transaction management.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of current agents get confused because we throw around in acronyms all the time, right?
Oh, what
And
does CRM stand for?
we'll probably both have two different answers because everyone has a different answer. Mine was always customer relation management tool. It was
That's exactly what I say as well.
so I look historically. Whenever we always teach people stay in curiosity, not judgment. So if you stay in curiosity about CRMs, well, where did it originate? What was the origin of a CRM? Well, back in my day, Tommy Hopkins taught us to have a file box with index cards, and we'd write on the index card, and there'd be cold, hot, and warm in our little index card, or a roll.
You're showing your age.
I
You're
know,
showing your
I know it,
age.
I know. But a Rolodex essentially is a CRM because you'd put the, family names on it. You would put the dog's name, whatever
Yeah.
it may be. And what was the follow-up system? Well, it was the agent. You'd use the Rolodex and you make phone calls because the phone was the only thing we had, or we'd send letters, that type of thing. So
Right.
you're right. Lion's Desk, before they were bought out by Lone Wolf, that was a very basic CRM. You could get that for $49. Top Producers, very complex. You can communicate with your team members if you have a large team. And certainly everything from, follow up boss to, like you said, with Boomtown, there's capabilities of certain functionalities. But if you look back historically, all those functions used to be handled manually by the real estate agent,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Keep the data,
Chuck,
make the phone
hold on.
calls,
Here's
etc.
what's important though for people to remember. See, everybody listening to today's call, if you're an independent agent or a team owner, whatever, you are a CEO of a business. You gotta, as Stephen Covey taught us, think with the end in sight. Folks, you're going to get out of the business one day, whether by choice or by death. As most of my clients, because they've been coaching with me for over 20 years, Chuck, guaranteed it's by death. Sorry to say, last year I had to negotiate 2 sales of my clients who passed away.
Mm,
Hey, the thing is, at the end of the day, you need to have a CRM to build up a saleable business when you want to get out. It's important to understand you need 2 CRMs. Yeah, contact management and transaction management CRM. You need a lead generation, lead follow-up CRM. That's the same tool. So, folks, to have an effective CRM, you got to have two.
yeah,
One that does contact and transaction, one that does lead follow-up. Okay, that allows you to stay in touch with clients who want to buy or sell.
yeah.
So,
Right.
folks, you want to sell your business, 2 CRMs is the point.
Correct. Because if you can't have the systems there for efficiency, Bob, you can't scale. If you can't sell, your business isn't saleable. It's all on your shoulders, just like it was back when we used to carry a roll of dimes in our pocket because we had to make phone calls at a tone, at a booth.
Chuck, I remember, hey, we put together position agreements for our clients, right, Chuck? I remember years ago, we always had to put in the position agreement for a buyer agent, always carry dimes for the
Roll of
pay
dimes.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to, a lot of newer agents say, well, I can't afford a CRM. Well, can't afford not to in some cases. Some businesses have inventory. You got to spend $1 million on inventory to get it in. So you have to, you're right, Bob, be the CEO, invest in your own business. Yet, if you simplify something, you could possibly do something to have efficiency until you have the revenue to be able to invest because it's not a cost, it's an investment. And Outlook is a CRM. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that use Outlook or even basic Excel sheets because if you have your customers in an Excel sheet, you can extract them, put them into MailChimp, and now you got a follow-up system. So
Yeah, my only hesitation, Chuck, with like an Excel, it's not a true CRM.
no,
So
it's you're
why
getting
not
by.
invest? And Chuck, how much is a product like Top Producer? $80 a month?
Yes, and
Maybe top end.
correct. And a lot of people again confuse different systems. So they look at a company. Here's the one thing that I won't say about any one company, Bob, but I'll say about a lot of them that are either IDX lead generation systems or true CRMs. They do not communicate effectively truly what their value proposition is, and that's where agents get confused. So they don't know what to get, and then unfortunately they're faced with a $700 a month, a $1,500 a month, investment, and they don't realize there's other facets other than the CRM within that structure, which will benefit them. They will get an ROI. However, they
Sure.
may not be at that point in time to be able to invest based on their gross revenue. So
No.
it's you have to grow with your business and grow with your systems. And there are basic ones that you can get for 49 to 89. And then there are CRMs that are built into some lead generation systems for a larger investment.
So, Chuck, people, what I want them to take from today's call, the basic yep, got to have 2 CRMs: contact management, transaction management, lead follow up. Folks, if you don't have those, start investing. If we can answer any questions on what are the better ones out there, please email Chuck at chuck@bobcorcoran.com. Okay, we'll get you direct answers. Also, folks, I'd like to pick up, what is the one tip you picked up from today's tip that you're going to implement within the next 30 days? Please email Chuck or Bob at bobcorcoran.com and let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, because one came to mind for me, Bob, because if people don't use a CRM and don't follow up, somebody else will.
And they're going to get the deal.
That's right. Bob, thanks
Wow.
for a great tip of the week. And like Bob said, if you want more tips or spend time with Bob or I for 30 minutes talking about your business, we're happy to do so. Go to bobcorcoran.com and we'd love to chat. Bob, thanks for a great tip. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you, Chuck. See you next week. Bye bye.